In this grand adventure's first round, they acted like detectives, tracking the kids while struggling to secure ropes to the rugged rock, paving the way for the heroic rescue ahead. Parents at the cave's mouth were anxious. Some cried, others smoked gloomily, battling till dawn. The rescue team, bruised as if from a fight with the Harry Potter mountain cat, slowly returned. The cave was a labyrinth. One slip could drown them in its hidden waters. The team had a rough journey, but barely advanced 800 meters. When parents saw them looking so worn out, their hearts filled with fear, and the earlier hope shattered like a flying turd in the wind, and the rescue was stuck. They couldn't find any trace of the kids. They were clueless about where the kids were or if they were even alive, so they desperately ordered the biggest pumps, hoping to rescue them once the water level dropped. This was a problem that felt like a tricky elementary school math exam, 10 faucets pouring into a pool while one drained it. How long would it take to empty the pool? The answer was not happening, as the cave's water level was rising 7 inches every hour while all pumps could only lower it by 1 inch. Before long, the kids' drowning risk heightened. The rescue escalated into an international incident, prompting Thai government's global appeal. Volunteers from around the globe joined in, and a water engineer from Bangkok realized the authorities were pumping water out. So he found a nearby guide. He requested the guide to take him uphill in search of drainage holes, and by following closely behind the guide, the engineer was able to successfully identify several of them. But here's the catch. Diverting rainwater downhill would devastate vast farmlands. Talk about a life or death dilemma. They approached the farmers to discuss if they could lend a hand. The farmers replied, "Well, can you help us first?" "Honestly, I can't make promises," he hesitated, "but I just want to give the kids a chance." After a brief discussion, villagers finally responded, "All right, can you offer any help?" "Thank you." These selfless villagers sacrificed material, revealing noble souls. Such generosity and bravery are the brightest lights in humanity. By the 5th day, thousands of eager volunteers had converged here. Among them were 2 cave rescue experts from England, Rick and John, who arrived at the scene without a moment to spare. They quickly geared up and were ready to jump into action, but were blocked by the military until Froon came to the rescue. He cleared the confusion, saying, "I told the government these are the skilled folks you need. The kids are still in there." "Look, Tyne, I'm just saying the repairman is in there. It's not that big of a deal." "No great show here. We're not tying what's it to you, Tyne." "Right, if the government sends some support, we wouldn't have to worry at all." With Froon's guidance, they reached the third cave, 800 and from the entrance, where workers were busy installing pumping equipment. As the water level rose, they pressed onto a narrow passage. A pump malfunctioned, and workers were heavily focused on fixing it, completely oblivious to the rising water level. John and Rick started exploring here, donning wetsuits and adjusting their breath, diving deeper into the cave like professional divers. Visibility in the cave was nearly zero, flashlights sweeping over, sharp stalactites glimmered, dark currents swirling in narrow passageways. The narrowest parts of the cave only allowed for 1 person to pass through. The 2 persevered, adjusting their breaths with each move, and endured a 4-hour underwater marathon. They finally reached a trapezoidal intersection 1.6 km from the entrance, the first large cave to avoid the raging waters. They scouted around, but saw no sign of the kids, so they pressed on towards the next cave. But just as they swam a few meters, Asterisk crash. The cave collapsed under the powerful water pressure as torrents of water swept down boulders, making visibility even worse. They had to adjust breathing, controlling oxygen use. Soon, Rick heard metal clanking. He broke the surface to find a worker signaling for help. Too focused on repairing the pump, he hadn't noticed the rising water. The worker could swim but lacked diving experience. Facing drowning, he prayed for rescue. Rick lent him John's equipment. He planned to send him out and then return for John. However, for most ordinary folks, cave diving can be a ticket to despair. Moments after the worker submerged, claustrophobia kicked in, and panic clouded his thoughts. He desperately fought to swim upwards without a care. Amongst the chaos, he accidentally knocked off Rick's secondary regulator gurgle. Just as he scrambled to the surface, he sustained a serious injury, blood pouring out. Without hesitation, Rick quickly shoved the regulator back into the worker's mouth and mustered all his strength to pull him ashore, averting a dramatic crisis. After John reached shore safely, the mayor greeted the foreign rescuers. They detailed the underwater complexities as heavy rain persisted. To avoid more casualties, the mayor halted rescue. 7 days later, rain poured, leaving parents nearly hopeless. So they made a humble request. "I just hope my son has a good resting place. Can you please bring my child back to me?" However, the urgent meeting didn't resolve much, discussing when to resume the rescue. The military insisted they wait for the rain to stop and drain the water before proceeding. This left Rick and John restless. "We can go in right now. It's really no problem. We've been swimming in water, not in a no-go zone." Rick shot back. "We've been doing this for 30 years. Though they didn't want to offend, they came not for a holiday but to save lives. Every minute raced against time, with children's lives at risk. After deliberation, the mayor decided to postpone the rescue. He couldn't afford the responsibility if it went wrong. The soon-to-be ex-mayor wished to conclude his term on a high note. On the 8th day, progress was made in the drainage work up the mountain, with volunteers successfully hauling pipes uphill. The water redirected downhill, preventing farmland from torrents. However, on the 9th day, something marvelous and unexplainable occurred. According to Thai legends, 300 years ago, there was a beautiful princess in the Jinghon Palace.